this is JJ the CPA, and
Yeah. JJ the CPA is here.
JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. So, breaking news, the SBA has opened up its portal for all small businesses, including the agricultural businesses, for the EIDL and the advanced EIDL. So be sure to see at the end of this video, I've got a link to a playlist talking about the various kinds of EIDL, what you can spend the EIDL monies on, and some additional information related to the EIDL. What I wanted to cover in this video is what is it that you're going to need when you are applying this go around for the EIDL and EIDL Advanced. The one thing to note here is that you're applying for both things at the same time, and more you're applying for the EIDL, the loan, and when you're applying for the loan, you request to see if you're eligible for the advance. And for information related to that, check out the playlist at the end. When you're applying, you're only going to go to SBA.gov. It is the only place that you can apply for this. Go to SBA.gov, you'll click at the top, there's a yellow strip, it says click here, and then you'll see an option to click for funding options, and then it'll say apply here, and it'll be all on the SBA.gov website. So the key here is that you need to have the tax return that you're filing this on, meaning when you're getting the EIDL, it is going to be on your EIN. So if you're a self-employed sole proprietor, Schedule C, and when you're looking at your Schedule C, you're going to be reporting the information on this initial part with the most recently filed individual tax return that includes your Schedule C. So I'll have a special video just for the sole proprietors filing a Schedule C related to the EIDL. But then for the business owners, you're going to want to have your most recently actually filed Form 1120S, 1065, or 1120. Those are the business returns. There's a couple of key reasons that you want it is that it's going to ask for your EIN. Of course, you want it to match that. If you're filing a Schedule C and you don't have an EIN, again, see that video for the self-employed EIDL. You'll just use your Social Security number. So when you are then filling out this information, seems obvious, but when you're listing the business name, it needs to be exactly as how it is put on the tax return, okay? Whether it has a period or not, like you can't overlook this because these few key things that I wrote up here is how they're gonna match the info. So if you do it willy-nilly, it may either delay it or they won't be able to verify your business because I have had a few clients that I didn't know they applied for it, but they did. And they said, hey, I got this notice, and they couldn't verify my business. And so we had to take steps because they just quickly filled out the information. So the name needs to match it because that's how they know it's you. And then the business start date. Okay, so for the Schedule C, there's not going to have a specific date, but they're going to know when you started filing that Schedule C. So you want to put down then the year that you started filing that Schedule C. And I would recommend just doing 1/1 of the year that you started it. So if you started your business in 2016, just put 1/1/16. If that freaks you out because you happen to know you started the date on August 11th, 2016, then put August 11th, 2016. If you don't know the exact date, sole proprietors only, Schedule C only, self-employed only. If you don't know the exact date, know the year, you can do 1/1 of that year because in essence, you filed for that entire year. And then for the 1120S, 1065, 1120, when you look on page 1, you're going to see a start date or date incorporated or date organized, okay? That you want that exact date on that tax return. That's how they're verifying this is you, okay? And then the business activity. So for the Schedule C filers, right there on Schedule C, you're gonna have indicated what kind of business it is and what the activity is. For the 1120S and 1065 1120, you're gonna find that on the second page, and it'll list the activity. It'll be at the top, Bayard, Texas. And the reason is that you're gonna fill out what kind of business you have and what's the activity. You want it to match up best you can. It is gonna ask for your last 12 months of activity. So they want the last 12 months of income and the last 12 months of cost of goods sold, okay? So cost of goods sold, they just mean expenses. And as I understand it from previous SBA information, you would put the total expenses. So cost of goods sold can be determined as well just the costs to sell, like inventory. But what I understand is from the SBA is that you're just putting the total expenses. I don't know why they call it the total cost, or they put cost of goods sold. If for some reason you've been told different, then do it, because there is nothing specific out there that says what to actually include. I'm just telling you based on what I've read. So put whatever number you think or whatever expenses you think should go in there. I'm putting in the total expenses. And then last 12 months. So technically, the way that it reads is what was the total income for the prior 12 months as of 1/31/2020 is what it reads. So you would want the total income and the total expenses from 2/1/19 to 1/31/20. Okay, if that's going to make you break a sweat over it, I feel confident that you should be okay just putting down the 12 months of 2019. There's no magic to this in the sense that you're just putting down the number of what it is. There's no like, well, does it need to be high? Does it need to be? It needs to be what it actually was, okay? And it would be whatever it is that you're including for tax purposes. So I use QuickBooks, so I could just go in and do a date range on the P&L from 2/1/19 to 1/31/20. Here comes my number from total income and then all the expenses. This is not a part to stop and start sweating it, okay? If you don't have it exactly through 1/31/20 for some reason, you haven't gotten to the books for this year or whatever, well, do the best you can, okay? If all of a sudden you're gonna be in a dead sprint and breaking down the front door of your accountant or CPA or tax preparer, you probably need to time out, because by the time you get it to them and they have time to prepare it, money's probably run out. So you can figure out ways that you wanna come up with that number. I think it's okay if it's a reasonable estimate, okay? I think it's okay, okay? Now you need to know this. There's nowhere in here that it says when you're applying all these details. So I'm just telling you based on my practical experience as a CPA with 28 years of experience and dealing with the government for 28 years. If you have a better way to do it, then just do it. If you've heard something different, now you've heard something different, and something's different, and something's different, and something's different, money's gonna run out. So you're just gonna have to make some decisions, because they're not asking for a ton of information here, okay? So I put in these exact dates. I recommend you put in those exact dates of income and total expenses. If you don't have it, all I'm saying is go with what you have that's reasonable. If you say to me, well, I've only been in business for 8 months, well, then put the 8 months of activity in there through 1/31/20. If you're like, well, I only had a business in January of 20, well, then just put January of 20, okay? So whatever information you have, if all you have is 2019, then put it in, okay? Total income, total expenses. You know, if it's like, well, does it include my pay? It doesn't tell us. It doesn't tell us. So just put in what it is that you think. So this will be the biggest sticking point that I feel like probably those that are applying are they're gonna freeze, they're gonna overthink it, they're gonna be worried. So don't get me wrong, I don't think you can go, it's that. You want it to be as correct as possible, but if you're using an estimate, I think you're fine. I mean, the thing to note though is that when you put all this information in, and I've got on my website, should have said it at the beginning, on my website, I put together a list for you of what I know that you're going to need. You might need a little bit more, a little less, and depending on if you clicked a button on what kind of business you're in. This would be just a general list. That's more than this, but these I would probably put as the most important items to be paying attention to. And what you just want to know is that you want to have your tax return next to you, because a lot of that information is going to come from it. When you get to things like an address, you want to use the address of whatever it is that you're putting in that would have been last reported to the IRS. So if you filed a tax return for 2018 and you haven't filed for 19, then you're going to fill this information out, not the numbers, okay, but this information, the name and start date and the activity and the address that's on that tax return. If you say, well, I've moved, well, then I guess you're going to have to put your most current address. If you've moved personally and you haven't filed with the IRS since you have moved, I mean, you're just going to have to make a decision. If it's me, I would put the address of my last filed individual tax return. So here's the thing to note, though. You're going to have to make a decision when you're in there, okay? I can't think of every little aspect of, well, what about this and what about this? The key here is you need to get in and you need to apply. These are the key things that you want to be exact. Not the income and the expense, okay? Even though, yes, it should be as accurate as possible, but that the business name and the start date and the activity as reported on there, I think is the most key in terms of them matching to information, okay? The one thing I want you to note as well is that if you get approved for this, okay, for the loan, and again, see the playlist for the different videos that I have related to the EIDL and how to use it and how to put it into QuickBooks, what are the different kinds of EIDLs and all that good stuff. But know this, once you get it approved by the SBA, you're taking it to a bank. And so at the bank, if there's anything in here that needs to be corrected or, now they're going to actually want those financials, you can explain to the bank, listen, when I applied, I put down my estimated information. Here's the actual information if the bank is wanting that. So you're trying to report as much as you want to report everything as accurate as possible. On these items, if you have to estimate, I think it's okay if you don't have it available. But then know this, you're going to be in front of a banker to actually get the loan. And that's when you can make sure that it's, all exact, so to speak. So don't hear me as you just get to guess. What I'm saying is that if you're in a panic, if you need this money, if you're in desperate, dire straits, you don't have time to wait on this income and expense. You don't. Don't freeze. Don't pause. Don't delay. Because tonight you need to, today you need to, this morning you need to, this afternoon you need to, before you go to bed you need to, before you pick it. You need to apply if you need this, okay? If you need this, you need to apply. I'm giving you a few items. I've got a list on my website, jjthecpahelp.com, and get in there and do it. Now, you can't be so scared that you're like, well, do I do this or do? You're going to have to pick. You're going to have to do the best you can, because guess what? You're a business owner. You know how to run a business, okay? You have customers, you have employees, you have independent contractors, or whatever it is. You know how to do this stuff. What could you do wrong? Really nothing if you have all of good intent. What do you want to do your best? All of this. All of this. You want to match it the best that you can. Okay? So I'll tell you this, if you don't have a copy of your tax return, you should. because as preparers, as CPAs and EAs, we have to, by law, give you a copy of your tax return. So the best thing to do is start searching your emails, searching your Dropbox, searching your computer, and looking for that tax return versus blowing up your tax preparer, your EA, or your CPA's office for something that you should already have. Now, if you just literally don't have it, now you're gonna lesson learned, you need to have a copy of your own tax return at your fingertips, because this is the most important thing that you need for this. All right, hey, just know this, I'm really feeling anxious that if you need this money, for you to get out there and get it. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe, and then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. All right, hey, check out the list. It's at jjthecpahelp.com. I've got a link in the body. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll just say it one more time. SBA.gov only. If you need it, get it now, right now. All right.
The CPA has been serving thousands of businesses for the last 27 years. He is also a national speaker teaching CPAs across the U.S. about the latest tax laws, as well as an author and now what many call a YouTuber. Through this COVID era, JJ became a voice of calm during the pandemic, guiding countless businesses, self-employed individuals, and fellow tax pros through the PPP maze. Now, JJ is taking his know-how to help businesses that have asked for his help to rebound out of this mess that no one saw coming. He is doing this out of his own pocket, not for a fee, and to simply show the American business owner that they are not alone. JJ, America's CPA, is here to help save the entrepreneurial spirit, one business at a time.
The CPA is here, been doing this for years. We bout to get your money right, you got nothing to fear. From the burbs to the ghetto, put the pedal to the metal. I got my mind.